Hello, welcome to our channel as we adjust our camera and make sure you get a good viewing angle. Is there a Treasury market emergency emerging? Treasury Department said we might have a Treasury market emergency. Well, that's a good time to buy gold and silver, by the way. Wall Street doesn't lose money on sell-offs. You do. You panic, you sell off, you lose money. And the banks are buying gold and silver. As much of your gold and silver that you can sell. That's why they're putting the squeeze on you. So you sell your gold and silver, your old coins. So they buy them. That's why the squeeze. To support the banksters, the gangsters, the banksters, the people who run the world, the Luciferians, the Rothschilds. So every time headlines scream, you sell. That's why people call Noble Gold Investment at 877-646-5347. They're tired of being squeezed. They're tired of losing money. They're tired of watching gold and silver go up and they can't capture in on it. And if you got a 401k, good luck getting your money into gold and silver. It's not happening. They're not going to allow you to. So you best call Noble Gold because they can help peel your stocks and bonds out of the stock market and get it into something solid. You can either store it in a vault that they have, or you can store it in a safe. I have a Cabela safe. Everything in it is guaranteed. And it's off-site, which as a public figure, it has to be off-site. I think I have 3 silver coins, a little silver coin case, and I have one 1/10 ounce of gold. It's all marked. If it's sold, we can track it. So anyway, the next time you see a dip and feel a knot in your stomach, call Noble Gold and talk about, a free 10th ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Sleep with your investments. Don't look at them on a digital map. Actually hold them in your hands. Anyway, on to the news. If you get a notice like this, it's a scam where they want to buy your home. It's a total scam. They ask for your title and they never send you the money. Apparently this was not supposed to be on. It came on all by itself. Happens all the time. Sometimes the computer turns on itself. I turn the phone off every night. About 3/4 of the time I wake up and it's on. They want you to be blasted with these 5G rays because it cooks you. It's a This is a miniature microwave oven. Doesn't go very far. The old analog used to go a half mile to a mile. These new phones are kind of worthless. The speech is worthless. It's, anyway. And in Tacoma Roads, we found out that, we used to have this environmental day twice a year where we put all our stuff on the sidewalk and somebody who needs it picks it up. So the city of Tacoma was paid off and they ordered that to stop. So they decided they would have their environmental days. They spent $5 million on this handout that says nothing, except all of the money we pay in gas taxes, federal and state, county and city, doesn't go to the roads. Tacoma had to raise its own levies to build its own roads. In other words, the governor is violating federal law and Trump is doing nothing about it. No arrest, Trump. Anyway, the Gulf of Hormuz was closed due to I need a scorecard, due to the Iranian terrorists. And then it was opened. Trump said, we're going to open the Straits of Hormuz. Trade will go normally. And the Prime Minister of Iran said, we're going to open the Gulf of Hormuz until the 22nd of April, your time, which is the 23rd of April, our time. Which is, I think, at midnight, Trump, they literally will turn Iran into a desert. They'll knock out all the power plants and all the water desalination plants and all the dams. So the Houthis in Yemen have said they're going to close the Gulf of Aden, which is the Gulf that leads right into the Suez Canal. So they're going to close the Suez Canal. I need a scorecard because the Hezbollah are in Lebanon, the Hamas is in Palestine, and the Houthis are in Yemen. You need a scorecard. Because they all sound the same. The CIA named them. They all sound the same to confuse you. The Houthis, Schmoodies, and Tooties is what I call them. Bunch of guys running around with missiles and bombs and blowing everything up. The hootie tooties and schmooties, they need to be put down and put to bed. This terrorism has to stop, and it all centers around the Democratic Party and Iran. The Democratic Party said in the 90s, under Clinton, they were giving money to the Palestinians, the Yemens, and the Lebanese, and that's when the hooties and tooties and schmooties broke out under the Democratic Party. I remember that Clinton gave $600 million to the Palestinian terrorists, and about 2 weeks later they started firing machine guns into Israel. So it's the Democratic Party that has been funding this for eons. And websites like nokings.org, they're still up. There's no intention to shut these things down. Terrorism means war. War means money. So we'll see what happens on Wednesday, if Trump will follow through with what he promised or not. And in Barcelona, Spain, there's a conference going on, an anti-Trump conference attended by the EU. They're plotting against President Trump. The entire EU is plotting against President Trump on how to get him out of office, how to kill him, how to destroy him, how to take Washington, D.C. out. It's a really sad state of affairs when the European Union talks about democracy, which means they make up the votes. You don't count. They're dictators. They're walking, talking. Lucifer Trust says they're walking, talking demons. How do I know? I get the letters from the Lucifer Trust. And the Lucifer Trust shares with me who's who. It's a non-governmental organization that you pay for. You pay for the Lucifer Trust. You and your taxes, when you go to work and you make $1,000 and you bring home $600, part of that $400 goes to paying Lucifer, directly to Lucifer. Direct line to Lucifer. Go U.S. government. We fund about 80% of the Lucifer Trust. Anyway, Trump orders increased testing of psychedelic drugs on our vets. 90% of the veteran suicide is caused because they were raped by their higher command and nobody listened to them. Now, maybe we ought to look into that instead of giving them LSD. Of course, the VA won't treat you unless you take their antipsychotic drugs. And when you go in every 6 months for a doctor's appointment, they test your blood to make sure you have those antipsychotics in your blood. They're absolutely here to kill our veterans. And the sun is interfering with about 10,000 U.S. satellites. They're about $100 million to send up a piece. So we had 1,400 satellites 10 years ago. We now have 10,000, well, 8,500 officially, but about 10,000 satellites at $100 million apiece. Do the math. The United States in 10 years has spent $10 trillion putting satellites in space to pump 5G down on us to cook the planet. Now Russia's sending up a large megaton bomb to circle at about 300 miles, and if it goes off, 80% of the satellites will be knocked out by the radiation interference. So the Department of Defense is in a panic mode. They don't know what to do. So we're planning to send up another 10,000 satellites in the next 2 years, which will cost you and I, the taxpayers, $5 trillion a year. Now, the Treasury market may have an emergency coming online. They don't know what to do. First of all, you United Arab Republics, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iraq, and Bahrain have all said we're in trouble financially. We may need some backup. Oman's already getting money. Pakistan has no power, so they're sending their oil ships to America because the P-51 Toyota motor is not going to be allowed to be given to the public. It's water powered. I saw a diagram of it. But I also saw a Chevy 1972 350 block get water powered through a series of screens. You get the motor hot and it'll run on steam. Seen it. You can't tell me it doesn't exist. I've seen it. So, and once you see something, you can't unsee it. Oh, unless they give you, as a veteran, they start pumping me up with ketamine or LSD. By the way, AOC is high on ketamine. She's been using campaign funds to see a psychiatrist and get high on ketamine, which is all these homeless that walk around like this, they're high on ketamine. When a person opens his eyes and you can see the white of its eyes in the top and the bottom, like Kash Patel, they're psychotic nightmares. That's how I know what's going on in Kash Patel's mind. He's a psycho. That's why nobody's been arrested in 2 years. He's psychotic. Well, I guess it's only been a year and 3 months. Should be long enough for somebody to start arresting people and to de-censor the person saving Trump's life, you think? He's psychotic. He can't focus. He bounces off the wall. Anyway, so there may be a Treasury market emergency declared. Remember, 30 September, the U.S. Treasury put out a report that was not released until 2 weeks ago that said the United States is insolvent. Now, nobody on the entire internet is covering this. Do you hear Greg Hunter talking about it? Do you hear Bill Holzer talking about it? Do you hear anybody talking about the insolvency the U.S. Treasury declared of the United States corporation? Nobody. Nobody's touching it because they're all paid by somebody like the Department of War, like Alex Jones, like Glenn Beck. They're paid by the Department of War. Used to be the Department of Defense. Anyway, so there was a failure to deliver gold and silver September, December, and March, affecting $250 trillion of paper and gold. You can't get your gold and silver. There is none. Your paper gold is worthless. It's a computer game you're playing, which is fine. If you want to play the computer game and bet on gold and silver, fake gold and silver going up, that's fine. It's all fake. Nobody's talking about it. The $700 billion that we're pouring into 8 stocks like Facebook, which by the way is laying 10,000, I think they're laying 10,000 more people off. They're laying people off because nobody's advertising. A lot of the advertisements are fake. And 95% to 99% of their hits are fake. Same on YouTube. YouTube has all these people advertising on them. You go to them, they're either fake, at least the ones I've gone to, or the guy puts up a video and in 10 minutes he has, 750,000 hits. That's fake. It's all fake. And of course, they're suppressing those who tell the truth. And of course, it's the FBI and YouTube that's suppressing those who tell the truth. So go FBI. Comey, the head of the FBI, his daddy ran the Holocaust. Killed 6 million prisoners of war and Jews and gypsies and all the blacks. This is our FBI. This is our chief law enforcement agency. They need to be defunded, Trump. You need to listen to God, but nobody's listening to you. That's why China and the CIA are issuing those we'll buy your home for $300,000 even though it's worth $450,000 or $850,000. That they're ignoring you because you're ignoring God. So they figure they can ignore you. And the $700 billion that Trump is now pouring into Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Oracle, and there's 3 other stocks. They escape me right now. The 8 stocks are getting $700 billion this year. $400 billion last year to keep them up. So what happened? The market went down to 4,500, and then the presidential protection team came up, and all of a sudden the stocks went. They were going down, and then all boom, back to 50,000. Keep the pension funds floating. Unfortunately, the mortgage-backed securities and the commercial-backed securities and the collateralized loan obligations have all collapsed because 12% of the ninja loans, no income, no verification of credit, the ninja loans are 12% collapsed. When they were 10%, when they collapsed 10%, that's what caused the 2008 market. So Trump's got to boost, money. He's got to backstop these losses. And the private loan losses are skyrocketing because most of them are in like AI or commercial building. Commercial buildings have collapsed in value almost 98% in most cases. The mall that used to be worth $1.1 billion, now worth $100 million. Building for $326 million to build, sold for $8.5 million. This is happening all over the place. Well, when they go to sell these commercial buildings, they go, uh-oh, we're not going to get any money for this building. So it's going to come out that the venture capital that went into private lenders vanished. If you're a venture capital company and you're giving to Blue Owl, the money's gone. That's what they said. The money's gone. You have to wait till the markets come back. So they're closing everything off. So you can't get your loan. So you put, let's say your venture capital, you put $100 million in to one of these private lenders. They won't allow you to take it out because there's no money. You might have $2 trillion of investments, but that $2 trillion is now worth, from all the investments, if they sold everything, it might be worth 50 million. Because commercial-backed securities, which paid high interest when the economy was booming, commercial-backed securities are dead. Now, what Trump's doing is try to counter this. We're way short on uranium, thanks to Hillary Clinton, who sold all our uranium assets to Russia. I call her the frazzled rat. We're short on uranium, so he's increasing mining, looking for uranium. They're looking for copper. They're looking for gold. They're looking for silver. They're looking for anything mineable. Right now, they're opening 3 mines in Wyoming that might increase uranium sales. And they have one just out of, not Well-Pinnet, that's where they dumped the nuclear radiation from Hanford. And then they spray it on the people at the Tri-Cities. Not that it's, anyway, Winnemucca. They have some mines in Winnemucca. I think they're finding copper and uranium. And then the Atomic Energy is finding uranium. So, anyway, there's a financial crisis spreading around the world because without the trade, with no more ships coming from the Gulf of Hormuz and over 3,000 ships stuck, including three cruise liners, they had to offload people in Kuwait and fly them home. And now they've got, a lot of them have 1,200 employees, and they're just sitting on the ship and they want to go home, and they say, we gotta get into the cruise business. And Iran is not letting them in. All they do is they just sit there and they fire these little boats with remote control. Kids get out there, 16, 17. They got a little TV screen. They lock in on a boat. They knock a little hole in it. Well, the boat panics. And we, the American public, have to pay for the insurance on that now. Isn't that just peachy keen? We, the American public, are paying for the insurance. So come Wednesday night, come Thursday night, their time, which is why Trump's got negotiators who won't leave until Thursday night, which is Wednesday night our time. It's kind of hard going across the international date line. Anyway, you know what's stable? Gold and silver. Because nobody's pumping money into it to make them high. Nobody's floating them loans. You get a silver coin, there's no loans on it. Now, that's not to say that the government won't bust down your door and steal your gold and silver, but I don't think they have the intention to do that. Anyway, God bless. Thank you very much. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we hope to see you bright and early tomorrow morning. We may do 5 days a week. The only reason we did it last time is because I get scared when God gives me a prophecy. There's been over 1,000 prophecies on this program. And every time I say something that God says, I'm always scared it won't come true, but it always does come true. There has been so many prophecies. My wife says, how many have you made? Well, 280 to save the presidents, and God knows how many on other issues, probably 1,000. And yet I can't even talk to the Prophecy Club. How bizarre. God bless. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.